Hey, Star Wars fans, guess what? It's the Rule of the Galaxy podcast. We're back, better than ever, and it's Joe in the pilot seat, and we've got a full array of characters along with us tonight, and actually a few more that will be coming along shortly. But before we get started, before we go over all this crazy stuff going on in Star Wars, always follow us at Rule of the Galaxy SW on Twitter. Email us at ruleofthegalaxysw@gmail.com and just check us out on YouTube and Facebook to just Rule the Galaxy. So I'm going to spin this around the room here because these guys are much more entertaining and fun. I'm just the moderator here. Let's get to our co-host tonight. And like I said, we got 3 with us now. We'll add 2 more later. So it's going to be a big, big show. We'll go alphabetical order. Alfie, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. It's a good day. Today was Robin's birthday. So, little dinner, little cake. I'm nice and full. Didn't know if I was going to be able to stay awake or not, but I made it.
Well, one of the last shows you said BW3s is where you went recently and had
Yes.
they kind of revamped things and upgraded the place. Tonight you went to
The Olive Garden.
the Olive Garden. Yeah.
Yeah.
Endless breadsticks.
Hey, and now they have endless Alfredo sauce for the breadsticks. I think we had like 5 bowls.
Well, no wonder you're tired because that Alfredo sauce.
That just wasn't me. That was the kids too.
Okay. All right. We'll whip it around the room. We'll head over to Mr. Brent. Mr. Brent Dykeman, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I was in the Star Wars Legion. Sorry, I couldn't get my thoughts together.
That's okay.
Star Wars Legion is now getting the Wookiee Warriors and dropping Wookiee Warriors. They can be playable for your Republic factions since they were in the Clone Wars as well as Episode 3. They're coming out with a new Fluttercraft, which is like a woodboard ship that you can use. They have the snail tank, which is the droids, like one single wheeled tank that you can transport a unit on. They're just dropping things left and right to try to get you to spend more money on little plastic army men.
Well, I know I sent you over something. I sent you guys all over something today because Steve Glosson is trying to buy some new Marvel characters. And so he's raising funds by selling off some of his old Star Wars 3 3/4 on Chewie's Cantina on Facebook. And I mentioned the 3 3/4, and you said what?
3 3/4 is too big. I want my figures 1.5 inches and unpainted.
There we go.
So I gotta paint them.
There you go. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this weekend, are you doing another Star Wars Legion in Greenwood, Indiana, or is it next weekend?
I think it's next weekend. This weekend, I think I'm off.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the September 11th is the next weekend that we're hosting the event.
Good.
And then there is actually a tournament. So my play group, which is really competitive, is hosting a tournament in Greenwood the 25th. He named it, one of the guys who's kind of promoting it called it the Naptown Smackdown.
Okay.
It's limited to 25 people to play. I sent a quiet request out to the 501st, the Indianapolis 501st, just to see if I could show up or we could get him to show up, because I don't know what guy that's playing Star Wars Legion that wouldn't geek out if some stormtroopers walked into the room while they were playing.
I love it. Well, we'll make sure when you have those dates, make sure on Twitter and everything else you tag us and make sure you're getting those out for people in Central Indiana or further out if they want to come to those events. So always good to promote those. We're going to follow right in line as we do the intros and go alphabetical order still. DDoc42 on Twitter. Dave Dockery, man, welcome to the show again. It's great to have you back. How you doing?
It's good to be back. I'm less nervous this time. Really don't have many nerves at all because we had a blast last time I was on here. So, yeah, I actually, I think you saw it on Twitter, but my Mandalorian helmet finally came today. So
it did?
But it shipped to my brother's house.
Yes.
My brother got the pre-order for me for Christmas, and I've been asking him, is there tracking info on it? I'm seeing people on Twitter are getting them. Like, what's going on? And no lie, I see Joey post a picture of him wearing that helmet, and I'm just like, my helmet is never going to come. And then not even two minutes later, my brother texts me, hey, look what showed up at my house. I'm just like,
oh man, that was great.
I will eventually get it.
I was gonna say, so how far away is the helmet from you right now?
It's like 45 minutes from me. So
Okay.
if only I could use the Force and just bring it here, but it's not possible. So
I feel like that's a little stretch, even like some powerful 45 minutes to try to force pull.
We need to get you a speeder bike. Yeah, that would go well.
Kylo pulled the lightsaber out from behind his back. So if I could just do one of those, if I could just go like this, and there
I love
it is,
it.
you know?
Maybe
Yeah,
you
they
and your
have the
brother have a
dyad.
dyad.
I was gonna say you
Yeah.
guys the diet. Speaking of, there was a post on some social media on some forum that I saw. Somebody is actually taking metal and crafting their own indoor speeder bike, and it looks pretty good. Like it's like the diamond plated on the fronts for where the weapons go on that I don't know what you would call that triangle on both sides. It's somebody is actually building a speeder bike. I don't know if they are going to make it a motorcycle, but yeah, people are people.
D-Doc, I think with your background, I think that's something you could pull off. I'm not going to lie. I think you could piecemeal that metal together into making your speeder bike.
One day, maybe.
One
I'll
day.
have to look and see if I still have it, but I made an X-Wing and welded it all together. Like, I don't know, 12-inch model out of scrap steel. But I don't know if I still have that. I have to look.
I just buy stuff. I don't know how you guys do that, make stuff. There's people out there like you guys that I can pay to make good stuff for me because I have no skills like that. Speaking of skills, though, blast from the past. Guy's busy coaching football. He's even wearing the hat for it tonight. Probably just came from a football game. The one, the only Nick Shesky is joining us in the show. How you doing, Nick?
Hey, I'm good, guys. It's been a long time. It's good to see. It's been a kind of a crazy July, August, man, just nonstop. And so, just came from a football game. We did not win, which was frustrating. But it's, you got to remind yourself it's 7th and 8th grade boys football. And when you're getting warnings from the ref for yelling at the ref, you probably need to tone it back. So that doesn't exactly make my Hall of Fame moment, but you got to call the offside penalty. That's crazy. So I stand by it. I'm still salty about it. I'm coming in hot.
No. I mean, 7th, 8th grade, you have to get worked up on that stuff. I mean, that's a given.
How else are they going to learn? Like, what are we?
Look, I've been through all this. Your kids are all younger than mine. I've been through this. I've seen guys get thrown out of 7th and 8th grade baseball, basketball, and football games. I mean, thrown out, tossed, gone. So
now, to be fair, I was just asking questions. Right? Like I wasn't yelling. I just said, "Oh, you didn't see that? Oh, that's interesting. Maybe we'll get it next game. Next game we'll get it." Kind of. That's not my finest moment, but kids work too hard, man. They work too hard for this crap.
I get it. You have it taken away. So, Nick, you have the Mandalorian helmet, correct?
I do. Yeah, I got it right over here.
Alfie, you've got the Mandalorian helmet.
I do.
Dave, you now have one 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
And we saw that Joey posted today, and I retweeted it. His birthday is this weekend. And so for his birthday, he bought himself the Mandalorian helmet. So now
hey, Nick, you got to put it in a cup like this. You can't just drink out of the can.
Listen, Alfie, I ran from my car here. So it's now the unofficial official sponsor of Rule the Galaxy.
Oh God.
So do you get the dog with? Do you get the dog with the helmet?
Dave,
dog.
He better not open it. That's all I know. He better not open
that box better be pristine, right?
Yes.
So just, hey, I'm glad you guys are all here. Quick follow-up, crazy stuff going on in my life. So as you guys know, most of you know, I've coached high school softball for the past 5 years. Had a great time. I got a chance to coach with my daughter for 4 of those years. And so it was a fabulous time. But, all good things must come to an end with work, with the podcast, with just life in general. My wife and I want to do some more traveling, things like that. I decided to walk away after a 5-year run, which is okay. But like right here, I'll put it up on the screen. Just picked up my state championship ring.
That's the way you do it. Go out on top.
That's right. Nice, big, hefty ring. Feels good to put it on. Feels like I've actually done something, accomplished something in the 5 years. So that was one heck of a thing. We did that last Friday night.
Wow.
We got to stand out at the halftime of the football game, the high school football game. And they brought us all out onto the middle of the field, gave us our rings. That felt pretty cool. That was a pretty cool thing. Same day, just so you know, you have your ups and your downs in one day. Same day, I received my second colonoscopy in my life. Just fun, good times. I don't really recommend any of you to have to do that, but unfortunately, you all at some point in time will have to.
No, you shouldn't say that. Come on now.
We endorse colonoscopies at
We
the
don't,
Galaxy.
we don't want to have them. No
No.
one's jumping at the chance to have it, but we should recommend that people get them.
Correct. In general, you should get them, but I don't recommend all the ordeal that you go through for them. So, but I will say this: there's a couple of good things. One, because I have some health issues, this is my second one. All clear, clean bill of health. That's good. Two, when you do this, you basically do a body cleanse. I lost about 10 pounds in a day and a half. Great diet thing right there. I don't suggest you do it more often because the stuff that goes along with it is terrible. But hey, it's life. I'm 50 now. That's what you have to go through. Alfie is enjoying. He's over here laughing. So,
all I can think of is that scene from A Nutty Professor.
I'm thinking of Dumb and Dumber.
That's what But go with the Nutty Professor. Tell me.
When she's talking about the moms, they're eating Sunday dinner, and she's talking about having her colon cleansed. I'll cleanse my colon right now.
Okay, so
Hercules.
This is so this is how you start off a good Star Wars podcast. You talk about a little bit of everything.
Cleansing your colon, huh?
That's right.
Yes.
This is episode 97. Believe it or not, 97. And I think one, we've got a few things we can go over, fun things, not to deal with colonoscopies, but fun things we can talk about in the Star Wars world. But I think we all want to talk about the season 2 finale, Mandalorian gallery about Luke Skywalker that we all watched today. I think that was just something that we'll hit on. We'll go over it, and for me, I could tell you, man, it hit me just right. And to hear the conversation that the director had, and that Favreau and Filoni had, and the actors had, and the staff just blew me away. But I want all your input, all your thoughts on that. But I'll tell you what, we already hit on the Mando helmets. I had that marked to talk about because I saw D-Doc got his, and man, I was happy for him because I knew it was something he was waiting for. But I'll just hit on a few other topics real quick. One, I'm hearing that Andor has wrapped. Have you guys heard this as well? Andor has wrapped. So we're feeling good about that. D-Doc, you sent me over a list. What do you have that up of all the 2022 things that we can be prepared for?
Yeah, so someone shared it on Twitter, and I don't know if it's an official.
Hey, Dave, you're breaking up. You're breaking up a little bit there. You're breaking up a little bit. If you want to try to, you're back now.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not sure. It looks like someone shared it on Twitter, so I don't know that it's an official one, but it was the 2022 lineup, and it was basically loaded. It's got 8 episodes, Book of Boba Fett, December, 12 episodes of Andor, Bad Batch Season 2, 16 episodes, Kenobi 6 episodes, Lego Star Wars Special, Mandalorian Season 3, 8 episodes, Disney Gallery 4 episodes. So it's just this is what it looks like. I don't know that it's kind of looks official. So
it looks official to me.
I saw a similar Marvel one today too, so I would make the assumption that it got released somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. I remember when we first started getting Disney Plus, and I think I was talking to Joey, and we've talked about it since. I was fortunate enough that I grew up in the original, and some of the rest of you grew up in the original trilogy timeframe, to where we felt like that was the golden era of Star Wars. But I know it's probably hard to ever beat the original trilogy, but with the content we're getting now, this is the Renaissance. Maybe if that was a golden age, this is the Renaissance stage of Star Wars. The amount of content we're getting, the amount of great shows we're getting, hopefully movies in the future. Man, that list you just read off, that's huge. But Brent, I know you were into Andor 12 episodes. What do you think about that? Is that enough? You want more, or is 12 good enough?
No, so that was part of the sizzle reel that they did on the Investors Day way back. God, that seems like an age ago, but it was what, like December, but it feels like 2 years ago. When they dropped all 10 of those, that sizzle reel is what got me. They said like back then that it was a 12 episode and then 200 named characters and the set design. So I am sold on that. I think it's also the era that like I really am digging. I like that. I like to see the building of the rebellion as opposed to the building of the empire or the switch from the republic to the empire. I like to see it probably 5 to 10 years. So the empire has been formed and now we're trying to rebel against it. And how do we build those cells to build up to that? So yeah, I'm excited to see what Andor has to offer.
Any other thoughts from the peanut gallery here? Andor, and I also think Kenobi, I think we discussed it last week. Kenobi has wrapped shooting as well, correct?
How many
Yes.
episodes were how many episodes was that, Dave? 7? 6?
6, I believe.
Okay.
Yep. So
That just
it's limited, right? Limited series.
That just makes me feel like both the Kenobi and Boba Fett or the Book of Boba Fett make me feel like they were the movies that they were trying to make 4 or 5 years ago that they've either just stretched or they use those as kind of the plot, the basic plot lines, and then they're going to fill it in with a couple other things. But it just makes me feel like they just pulled those off the shelf because the strike while the iron's hot concept.
I agree. I would have to think that they are looking at those two, excuse me, and taking the movie, and we've all talked about it. We love Star Wars movies, but it's so hard to fit all the content in that you want into a 2.5 hour movie. So if you can stretch that out to 4, 5, 6 hours worth, I think we'd all be pretty happy with that. And let's face it, some of the most recent movies probably needed to be 4 or 5 or 6 hours to get the content in that we needed to get in. So Nick, Dave, or Alfie, any thoughts on Kenobi or Andor being finished and what you're looking forward to either of those?
My only thought is, and I preface this by saying I've been off Twitter for like the last month, just with life being crazy and running from thing to thing to thing. There's probably somebody that's talking about it, but with it being the time period that it's in, I feel like they really like, and by they, I mean, I don't know how involved Filoni is with Andor, but watching the cameos that come up of people, like I'm most excited for Andor because I feel like that it's so rich to be able to drop. I know there's 200 new characters, but I could totally see them working in, and I'm sure you guys know more about it than I do, but somebody that, we love that was around during that time period. I don't know. I get excited about that.
So I think it's 200 named characters is what I like.
Yeah.
So I think it is like Mon Mothma and Doadana and Saw Gerrera and Andor. And so it is all, there can't be a 200 new ones because that would just be crazy. But
I thought you were saying 200 new characters.
No, like, 200 names.
And we're going to,
200 names. So individual names and like specific characters, not like Stormtrooper 1 or guy holding knife. It's going to be, or guy holding blaster. It's going to be,
all the stormtroopers. It's like Chad and David and
right.
Yeah.
No, 200 named characters. So yeah. So I'm curious as to which ones are going to fill that up. Like Mon Mothma, I feel like would be, but that's what I'm interested in is who are they going to pick? I'm trying to think of the Rogue One bad guy, but I can't think of his name. Krennic. There you go.
Krennic.
Yeah, that's what I'm most excited for the series. I mean, we all love that buildup of the rebellion, but that little scene in Rogue One where Galen Erso and Krennic were in the office, having the, their nightcap, Coruscant in the background. I want to see kind of, that early stage of the Empire when guys like Krennic and Erso still kind of had that little gleam about what the Empire could be, trying to build something new and good. Because you would think that being part of the scientific part of the Empire, they're not in that tyranny or fascism so much. They have a chance for aspirations of galactic peace and
right. they look at it and say, we now have unlimited funds to find ways for fuel, for travel, for food, for all these kind of things that we didn't have before, right? Because it was disjointed and everybody was in their own direction. Now that we're unified under this one rule, they feel like, okay, we can get our job done, and we've got the backing of the government to do it. So you're right. At a certain point in time, it all switches, as we see, but up until then, they are probably going into it with high aspirations of that this could be a good thing in the scientific side of things, or the societal kind of things. Dave, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, for Andor, I'm like very hyped on that because I catch some flack for it, but I would say Rogue One is really one of my favorite Star Wars movies I've ever seen, honestly. And I grew up, I'm an original trilogy guy. I love the original trilogy. I grew up with the prequels, but I mean, just Rogue One was, of the new ones, it was just the one that just really, I was just like, oh my God, they totally captured like old Star Wars and just gave us this epic movie in one small bundle. Like it was beginning and an end, and they pulled it off with one movie, which like I don't have much to complain about with that. But when it comes to Kenobi, I just can't even comprehend seeing Ewan McGregor on the screen again. It's like it's one of those things where I'm just not going to believe it until I'm sitting on the couch that night seeing the show come on, basically.
And from what I'm hearing, a Miss Natalie Portman has been rumored to be back as some flashbacks, is what I'm hearing. Is that Anakin, Obi-Wan, and her are in discussions in flashbacks? Again, could be rumors, clickbait, but I think that would be awesome if they could retro that back in. So I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on? We saw that Mando season 3. We saw, gosh, I'm just blanking who I was going to say, who had an interview just recently.
Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers, thank you. Yep, he said that they're going to start shooting within like a month, right?
Yes.
On Mando season 3.
Yeah, that he's going to be back in it. And did he say he's directing another episode? I think
he might have. I glanced through it very briefly, but I was just excited. That means that we've wrapped up Kenobi and Andor. We're turning the page and putting Mando season 3 right on the front burner as far as production. It's like a factory there right now.
Season 3 starts in September. He confirms his return as director, and that Grief Karga will be back.
If Chubb said it, it's going to happen. Right?
Chubbs.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I can't see him as anything else. I
call him Apollo Creed. You call him Chubbs.
Yeah.
So he's also in Toy Story as Combat Carl.
Combat Carl.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a short. It's like a Toy Story of Terror like short that they actually put into Toy Story 4, I believe.
Yes.
But yeah, he's Combat Carl, and he talks about it like, I'm Combat Carl. Combat Carl's gonna do this. Combat Carl's gonna do that.
Combat Carl just wants to get back and see Billy one last time.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I've seen that 100 times.
So
look up Combat Carl.
September. That's awesome.
It's loosely based on like a G.I. Joe character, but yeah, he's Combat Carl.
I'm digging it. I'm digging it. So let's see here. Okay, 2 other ones. So guys, I don't know if this is rumor mill or if there's really things percolating behind the scenes here, but did you guys read up on this possible Finn series on Disney Plus?
Yes.
John Boyega, Finn. Are we buying selling?
I'm never coming back to Star Wars ever again.
They all say that until they have a couple flops.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All of a sudden, you get outside the umbrella of Disney and you go,
when
wait a minute.
Pacific Rim 3 goes straight to streaming.
Did they really make,
straight to Peacock is where
they made a Pacific Rim 3?
No, I think they stopped at 2. He was in 2.
Okay. If they made 3.
Speaking of 3s, and I will go right back to the Finn story in a minute, but the other day I was reading an article, just popped up, that Beverly Hills Cop number 4 is going to start production. That Eddie Murphy is back. He's going to do it. My wife loves Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2, so I sent it to her, And she was like, 4? I didn't even know there was a 3. And I said, yes, there was a 3. It wasn't that good though. And she goes, well, we need to see it. So last night we watched Beverly Hills Cop 3. It was not good. Anyway, but the best part of the entire movie was they were at a amusement park, and Eddie Murphy's trying to get in line, and he cuts somebody in line to get into the ride. Guess who he cuts in line?
I
Alfie.
know. Just George Lucas.
George Lucas. George Lucas makes a cameo in Beverly Hills Cop 3 at an amusement park. And it's just, I had to stop. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. It's a bad movie, but why is George Lucas in the middle of this movie? And there he was, GL himself, Beverly Hills Cop 3. So anyway, we'll go back to Finn unless anyone wants to comment on George Lucas. Go ahead, Alfie.
Just to comment on the Finn, I say that in jest. That's just a joke. I really hope that Finn does come back and his character, gets a little bit more story to him, gets done right, gets a little justice to that character. I think out of the sequel trilogy, he was done wrong, and I think he has every right to be pissed about his character and what Disney put him through.
Go ahead, Brent.
So I'm known as the sequel apologist because I will say that I like the sequels more than the prequels. And so when anybody hates on the sequels, I'm like, hey. And one thing that I do get most people to admit, and most people will say, is they did like the characters they created. They didn't feel like their stories were really good, but they liked the potential of the characters. And I mean the big 3 or 4 that they brought out, like Rey, Finn, Poe, those characters they said that they did like. So I'm with Alfie on this. Like, I would like to see that character develop in some way, shape, or form. The movies didn't do him justice. If they do this in a long form, in a seasonal or 6 or 8 episode arc, I'd like to see where they would take it.
Me too. Nick.
I would be curious too, because I feel like take out Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. I thought the chemistry between like Finn and Han Solo, and between Poe and Finn, and even between Daisy Ridley and Finn and John Boyega was actually really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked, and they used him in that movie more as like comedic relief, right? So like he had some serious moments, but there were definitely, where it's like, that's not how the Force works. Like, like using him for moments like that. I would be curious of, does it take, like, what's the sense of the show? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it lighthearted and fun? Is it do they try to do all 3? Like, I felt like you could never pin it with Finn of like, are you serious? Are you comedic relief? Are you trying to be all, because now you're the love story? Like, it was just so mismanaged that I'm with Alfie. I'd like to see him get another shot at it, but like, let's pick a direction and go that way.
Yeah, it was a little bit of shotgun scatter kind of directionality for him.
Especially when you market him holding the lightsaber.
Yeah. Come on.
That's the biggest complaint I have. You marketed him holding the lightsaber. That doesn't mean he has to be a Jedi or anything, but for God's sakes, don't send him on some boring, trip to a casino planet that goes nowhere.
Tell us how you really feel, Alfie. I mean, really, don't hold back. Dave.
But good thing Del Toro was there. Otherwise, we would have been screwed.
He liberated those like dog horses. He did something. He liberated the dog horses.
This is true.
And you know what? If he hadn't done that movie, if he hadn't done that, man, they would have never escaped that blockade.
My favorite part about the horse thing is, how do you even know they could survive on that planet?
That's great. They're not indigenous, and so they're all dead within 12
they
hours.
eat a specialized diet from another star system. Just let them all go.
They've never seen water. They just drown in the...
Yeah.
Gosh.
They just go around and eat poisonous plants immediately.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I'll go back to that in a second. But Dave, I wanted to hear your thoughts on the Finn side of things.
Yeah, my whole opinion of the new trilogy was just the fact that I thought the casting was great. I just thought the direction and storylines were just not thought out at all, in my opinion. And I love the casting. I'm just like, if I could take this cast and put different directors or just one director for all 3 movies and have a plan.
Right.
It was all right, in my opinion. But yeah, I just hope they have a plan if they're making a show for them too. Like, I just hope it fits in with what's going on, and it's not just kind of like a half-assed thing. Basically.
No.
I don't know.
That's okay. We're allowed to say half-assed on here. We have no FCC standards whatsoever.
I dropped that accidentally, but yeah, I just hope it's good if they do it right. Like Alfie was saying, do his character justice, because he was great in Force Awakens and everything. But yeah, give him the spot he deserves.
And going back to that, Alfie, it still gets me every time that it makes her feel great that she let all the horse dog face things go. But the kids who were slaves, she just leaves them.
We don't have time for that.
See you guys.
Broom Boy will do it. Broom Boy will do it. We gave him some motivation. Broom Boy's going to do it eventually.
He's going to release them all. You are correct. We did not think about that. There's going to be a whole new Disney Plus show about
Broom Boy
getting the slaves off of that planet. So,
titled Broom Boy.
Last one before we go hit our major topic, and I know Alfie had another topic for us to hit. This one really kind of caught my attention. There was quite a bit of stuff going on about Starkiller on Disney Plus. Did you guys see this? Posters of Starkiller from Force Unleashed, and there were posters of it, and people saying, "Is this going to be a show? Is this going to be?" Did anybody else see this but me on social media this week?
I saw a lot of it, but I didn't know the context of it. And there was a big, Twitter argument over whether you like Starkiller or not and what it says about. That's when I stopped reading.
Yeah, look. I never played Force Unleashed. I've
Great
heard
game.
heard great things about it.
Yeah, Joe, I'll tell you this. I did have somebody send me a TikTok this week, and it showed, which I'm not on TikTok, but I watched it, and it was it showed video of pre-Disney Star Wars, and it's Starkiller from the Force Unleashed games, which I love. And he's like, collecting the Force and then exploding out, and like stormtroopers are like evaporating, like in mid. It's pretty gruesome. And then it says Star Wars post Disney, and it's Daisy Ridley in the desert dancing, to something. And they were making the joke that it was, pretty gruesome, and now it's all light and happy. But it got me thinking, and so I went back and I saw a couple cutscenes from the Force Unleashed, and that game freaking rocks. And so if there was any sort of, bring him back into canon. Now he's the voice of Maul in Clone Wars and
Sam
in
Witwer,
Rebels,
right?
Yep. So same in it, and the character looks like him. So you just have to explain to everybody why Starkiller sounds exactly like Darth Maul. But other than that, bring him back.
Okay. All right. Dave, go ahead.
I played that game, and it is brutal, like you're saying. It was awesome. And I'm getting a little off topic here, but like I said, I'm on episode 9 of Bad Batch, and I'm curious with you talking about it being brutal. How come they don't actually just shoot people in the Bad Batch? How come they're constantly stunning people? I'm like,
good question.
They'll be in a big battle, and it's just like, I'm like, why are you stunning them? Just shoot them. Yep. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Stop.
Because they're clones and they don't want to shoot other clones. And the Empire, the Empire are meanies, and they don't care, and they will mutilate and murder. So the Empire will murder, but the clones want to take care of other clones.
Yep.
That's my answer anyway.
Showing their soft side.
There's been some points where I've been expecting a gun battle, and then I'm just seeing and then they're getting knocked out, and they're like, let's get out of here before they wake up. And I'm just like, all right, I guess,
hurry.
That's one
we got
thing
24 hours till they wake up. Get out.
Yeah, that is, I've heard that brought up on other shows, and I would agree with you. And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna hope that it's laying the groundwork for something. Brent brought up a great point in the last show. We won't hit on all of it, but it was kind of a rebirth moment for the clones towards the end, in the end episode. So you'll see that coming up soon, Dave. But I'm wondering if things will change. I'm wondering if they went from what they were doing with stunning everyone and all that to say, hey, we're flipping the switch now. Things have changed. We see how evil the Empire is. We see what we're going to have to do for us to survive. So I'm hoping season 2 they take away the kid gloves and the training wheels, and they let them go all out and unleash some bad batchery. So we love that phrase. Sorry, bad batchery. Which, by the way, last week's show, I asked if a certain thing flicked someone's bick, and
Nick, hold on, Nick, have you ever heard this? I'm gonna go and Dan, Dave, have you ever heard that term before? I just want to stop Joe real quick. Have you ever heard that?
Can you use it in a sentence?
Yes. Somebody comes up to you with a cigarette and you flick your bick.
That's not the way you. That's
Yes.
not the way you were referencing.
Well,
it while
no,
you
but
were using
the commercial used to be, "Does that flick your bick?" And so
Like get you excited.
And but one of our listeners sent me a message and was like, "Please enunciate." And I was like, I went back and redid it, but they were like, but still, the first time they were like, "What did you just say?" So
Right.
Okay, but anyway,
which is where everybody heard it. I'm sorry.
We got to check the metrics, see where people drop off in the podcast. It was right at that spot.
Yep. Right when Brent was going to Walden Books and I was flicking Bicks. So go ahead.
I'm with you on the flicking Bicks because I've always known, that phrase. And if you think, we always say stuff is fire. So it's a
lit.
direct correlation right there.
That's right.
There's
You
a little
flick
little
your
less
bick
like
and the flame comes out.
no
It's fire.
No.
There we go.
I don't have to there's a lot of I have to really get there to understand. I had to say, give it to me. It's fire. I understand that. I thought you said something else for the first time. I heard it too. And I was like, don't do that to me, please.
I apologize to anyone under 40 years old.
I was going to say, because there's a certain age limit for that reference.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's like someone saying that'll put some lead in your pencil. That'll really flick your bick,
See?
There you go.
Lead in your pencil.
You just need to start saying it with confidence. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
He's got that East Coast kind of, he can swag. He can bring it right into it.
Yeah.
I'm a Midwesterner with a lisp. It doesn't work as well.
Don't
Dave,
put a question mark at the end of it. Does
Dave,
that flick your bit?
While I understood the reference, had you ever heard the reference before?
What did you just say?
Hold on.
No, I've never heard it
getting
before.
to episode 98.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take us wiping. There we go. Wiped it clean. There we go. Slate is clean.
Scene.
It's right. Scene. Everyone's seen Bad Batch all the way through now, right? Except for Dave. Correct? Nick, have you watched all the episodes?
I have.
Dave, with you being halfway through, this will still come through to you a little bit, but if you guys had to say something you want to see in season 2, now that we know it's coming, what is something you would want to see in season 2? Dave, I'll finish with you because you've only seen halfway through. And if there's something that's already caught your eye besides the stun guns, Alfie, I'll start with you. What's something you want to see in season 2 of Bad Batch?
So this brings me right to the exact topic I was going to talk about tonight that I wanted to bring up. I mean, complete segue here. During my COVID time, I mentioned last week, I rewatched The Mandalorian, rewatched Bad Batch. I rewatched basically everything. So like we were talking about last week with all the little breadcrumbs leading to the sequel trilogy, etc., Mando, the pickle jars. In season 1 of The Mandalorian, when they are on the Razor Crest, I think in the very last episode, Quill and Mando and Cara Dune are having a conversation about Grogu. And Quill says that he doesn't think he's engineered or a strand cast. He also says that I spent my time working in the gene fields of the Empire. So could Quill show up in earlier series that deal with the cloning in the strand casts and everywhere that Bad Batch just. Okay, let me stop right there. Could he show up, basically? Because I don't want to spoil it for D-Doc here.
Wow. Who are you?
Wow.
That's amazing.
I love
That's a
that.
deep dive. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like a little throwaway line in Mando.
Yeah.
But since then, in like 2 years since that episode, I mean, every single Star Wars series has dealt with the issue of strand casts and cloning. And he just happens to say that I worked in the gene fields of the Empire. I don't really know what that means, but again, that's some buzzwords there that, keep coming back to these little breadcrumbs.
I'm not sure. I mean, it would be cool, but again, a lot of people get angry when you make the Star Wars universe too small.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be a bad idea to show Ugnaughts working in something like that, like they do later on in Cloud City, and they're small. They can work on smaller things. They're very technical. So it wouldn't be bad to have them show up in season 2 of Bad Batch, doing those kind of things. I wouldn't be against it. I think there's positives and negatives. Again, making the universe too small, but I think you're right. You might have hit on a point that we didn't think of before. Go ahead, Brent.
So this is also going to tie in a direct quote, and I'm going to try to direct quote Favreau from the gallery episode. He said that the fans are deeply passionate and they are looking for an interconnected and connectability between all of the episodes. They're looking for the continuity to continue and that there to be no discontinuous breaks. And all that says is, and I was going to say this later on, but I'm going to say it now since I brought it up. I feel like he is working to try to bridge the divide between the sequels and the original trilogy with that quote when he said that quote. Now, because I believe he's trying to make that bridge and make that connection, I would see that we have Quill working on the gene fields because they're similar to the moisture evaporators in most respects, right? When you said that, it made me think of the C-3PO line.
Right.
But no, I can see, because based upon that quote from the gallery episode where Favreau said that Star Wars fans are looking for this, and I call it the Marvel effect, because Marvel has done so much intertwining and wrapping things together pretty seamlessly. I think the Star Wars fans are looking for the same level of coordination, and I think that that's where he is moving. So it wouldn't shock me to see one Ugnaught or Quill. I never would have thought about it until Alfie brought it up, because the book of Alfie is never wrong. So yeah, I could see it happening.
Nick?
I have some things I'd like to see, but I have a question too. That you said the line of people don't like it when there's Star Wars or when Star Wars gets too small. For me, what I'm wondering is like, and again, this is it's a deep cut, but go back to episode 2 and before we know about Camino ever, and Obi-Wan Kenobi sitting in the diner with Dexter, and he says something to the effect of like, they're cloners, they're good ones too, something like that. It's a terrible impression, but all that to be said, I'm curious, like, so are the Kaminoans the only cloners out there, or are there other cloners? Like, is it just like from now on, if there's anything with clones, it's going to be all Camino, I don't know. I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but at the same point, I watched the last episode and I went, okay, I wonder if this is just going to continue to be this way, or if they interject some new of like, oh yeah, and by the way, here are the rivals of the Kaminoans that, also clone, that are good with the Empire, just throw away.
No, good. That's a good question. I don't think that's ever been discussed. And like you said, a deep cut where he said they're good ones too makes you believe that there might be other ones out there. So good question. Dave, any thoughts on that one, or is it you want to bypass that one until you see the end?
I'll wait.
Okay, you'll wait. Hey, we got another.
I like all these takes.
Okay, we've got another special guest, one of our regulars, but it's always good to see his smiling face. Mass just showed up in the show. Mass, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. You see, we got a full show going on here.
I did. I had to like start panning right to get everybody to fit in there. But yeah,
Well, are you on your phone, your iPad? What are you on there?
I'm on the iPad.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna have to get a sponsor and get us all big Macs, though, like the big TV screens, so we can all
What
do it
I'm
on
talking
that.
about.
That's right. So any sponsors who are looking to be with a podcast that talks about colonoscopies and other fun topics and
I'm sorry I
Big
missed that.
lighters.
Yeah, you
Big
missed quite a
lighters.
bit.
Feel free. rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com.
If this show really flicks your bick, then jump on in. I'm gonna start
that on
using
a
that
t-shirt.
all the time now.
I'm gonna use it.
Mass, you know what I'm talking about, right? The big
Flick your
lighter.
bick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See?
I'm gonna go back to the age thing here real quick, Joe.
That's old school, baby.
That is true.
Whoever said it, when we always say something's lit, that was lit just a few years back. That's all. You were lighting something before they had the emoji. The lighter was doing it.
Yeah, you kids today with your phones and everything. We actually used to light our fucking weed.
Wait a minute. Now we're going a whole nother tangent.
Yeah.
So
What's that sponsor?
Alfie, you said you wanted to see that. Brent, is there something you want to see in season 2 of Bad Batch?
I mean, I'd want to know Tarkin's interaction with the Emperor. I want to know that. I would love to see Rampart and why the hell he's so powerful, or what is he doing that makes him, because it seems like he's the number 2 guy. And I would like to see, probably, I think everybody wants to see him, the Vader, man. How can we work Vader into it? Because we know that you don't have to do a lot of Vader, but I'd like to see Vader.
Sprinkle him in. That's right. Nick, go ahead.
That was it. I want to see. It feels like if we're basing off of Rebels, right? The more trouble, that occurs. Finally, there hits a tipping point where Vader's like, "Okay, screw you guys. I'm going in to go take care of this." And I would like to see Vader against Bad Batch.
Okay. All right. Mass, any thoughts from you on something you'd want to see in season 2 of the Bad Batch?
I don't know. What did I miss? Because I heard somebody say something about a colonoscopy.
Yeah, we don't want to go back.
You
We
didn't
don't
see
wanna
that
go back
part?
to there.
You didn't see that part of the finale?
There wasn't a demonstration, was there?
No, it was after the credits. Mass, you got to go back and go watch it.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch that again because I totally missed
Episode 17, Wrecker gets a colonoscopy. That's
that. That's what I want to see in the Bad Batch colonoscopy.
They were saying clone philosophy, not colonoscopy.
Yes.
Clone philosophy.
Philosophy.
We're talking about clones.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
totally messed that up. I'm sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
So have you finished Bad Batch yet, Mass?
Yeah, I finished it. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything now after seeing the whole season that you'd want to see in season 2? Something that you're like, this would be good to take this to the next level in season 2?
without spoilers, because
I would to be honest, I'd like to know more about Omega. I'd like to see, where that's going.
We kind of abandoned that storyline after a few episodes. She was real important there for a minute. Then, not so much anymore.
man, screw it.
That's over. No more bounty hunters. No more nothing. It's fine now.
That's good.
Dave, after you finish Bad Batch, we need to have you back on. And I want to, now that you've heard of all of our recapping, we all were okay. We thought it was entertaining. 16 episodes. There's some really good things, but there are some questions that still need to be asked by the time you get to the end. So be prepared. Mass, I'm
One
glad.
more thing that I'd like to see, if
Yeah.
I could jump in real quick. And, we're kind of getting close to the Rebels timeline here. I would think as Bad Batch goes down the line. Hera seemed to know a lot about Thrawn in the Rebels series. So I think this might be a good time for Thrawn to come in at some point.
Interesting. Okay.
And isn't it interesting that we all kind of just picked Empire characters that we want to see in Bad Batch season 2.
I focused on the Empire characters because I feel like this is, or at least the episode, this is a springboard for the Empire, whereas Rebels I felt was a springboard for the rebellion.
I
feel like this episode or this series is springing you from Republic into the Imperial world. So I feel like it's going to focus on them more. I could be completely wrong, but if I am wrong, I would like to see how the Rebels got together and created the family that they created. Like, how did they recruit? So you say Hera, how did the book talk? New Dawn talks about Hera and Kanan, but how did they recruit Sabine and Zeb and all of those other people? So that's what I would like to see if we're talking rebellion side. But I focus on Rampart and Tarkin because I feel it's that springboard.
Okay. I agree. I think I love all these things you're bringing out. And I love that it is all things here that are in the Empire stuff. What's funny is we didn't talk about any kind of growth or anything we want to see from the actual Bad Batch. I think we just want to see them be together and be kind of kick ass, right? And do some cool things. For me, I would like to see some more depth out of Tech and Echo. I think we talked about that. I would like to see, are there more clones out there like Hauser that are willing to turn the other way, right? And Order 66 is not still what's pushing them, but they are being, they're going in a different way, their morals and their decision making. So I'd like to see I'd like to see Hauser come back, but 2, I'd like to see if there are other ones like that. 3, is there any connection with Boba Fett and Omega? We'll see on that. And then my last one was, do we see the start of the Thrawn trilogy that's going on now, where Thrawn comes into the Empire in the new books? Because right now in the new books, it's where it's in between, right? Isn't it in between the prequels and in the original trilogy, where he's coming in before we get to A New Hope? So I'd like to see that start that's going on in the books right now kind of merge with this. So, but yeah, a lot of good things, a lot of good stuff there, and I think there's a lot of room to grow with this. What's funny is I'm a note guy, as you guys always know. I always bring my notebook with different things to talk about. I think the big thing that happened today was the Mandalorian finale, season 2 with Luke. The gallery of that came out on Disney Plus. I think we all watched that, and I didn't write down any notes. I just wanted to go into it, kind of saw it, and just have a conversation with you guys, because my 2 favorite characters are Obi-Wan and Luke, and across Star Wars. I know that's cheesy and that's easy. A real Star Wars fan should find some little niche character that's sorry, I go with the big guns, and Luke and Obi-Wan are my 2 favorite. But watching this, man, it's that thing of recency bias, and Obi-Wan, because of the prequels and because of all the Clone Wars episodes and everything like that, has been really easy to say he's my favorite over Luke. But then when you go back and you see something like this, it just reminds me of what it was like to be that 6, 7, 8-year-old kid watching A New Hope, watching Empire Strikes Back, and remembering why a little blonde kid from Indiana thought Luke Skywalker was the greatest thing in the world during that time frame. And seeing the people like Favreau, Filoni, Peyton Reed, right? Is that the director's name?
Yes.
The way they were emotional about that, it made me see that they have similar feelings to what I have on that. So the floor is open. There were so many great topics that I want you guys to run this and just talk about the different topics you want to hit. Dave, you are our special guest. We kind of butcher your time when we talk about Bad Batch. What were some of your thoughts on this finale gallery that they did today on Disney Plus?
I pretty much was just blown away by the whole thing, honestly. It was. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on one second. Usually it's a pause and you kick in. Try it again.
I was pretty much blown away by it. I mean, the technology that they have now is like insane. Exactly what you said about Peyton Reed and Filoni and Favreau. They're super passionate about Star Wars, and you can just hear it when they talk about it. You know, it's their full-time job to well, not their full-time job. They're doing all kinds of stuff, but when you hear the passion they're talking about Star Wars and Luke Skywalker and connecting everything, like Brent was saying earlier, it's just like I watch it. I'm just like, this is in such good hands, this series, because they bring up the fact that, you know, they talked to Mark Hamill about it during season 1, you know, and you can see that like these guys are thinking about the long game. They're not thinking short term. They have a plan, and it's panning out. You know, it gives me chills talking about it, actually.
Agreed. You mentioned it earlier when it came to the sequels, to where you loved the characters that were in it. You thought there were good people playing the roles. That wasn't that long. They weren't playing the long game. It was more, hey, here's a quick story. Let's just jump through it. Hearing Filoni and Favreau talk about it, you know, it's in the right hands. And even if they make a mistake, they're going to fix it in the long run, right? They're going to find the ways to piece it together. So I agree with you 100% on that. I'm really excited about that. Next, who wants to hit a next topic on any of the things that got on there today? Brent, go ahead.
So speaking to what Dave was saying, it reminded me of, I don't know what his name was. I don't know if he was a visual effects guy, but he was a year and a half after filming it, still afraid to call him Luke Skywalker because of how secretive they were for the month or for the couple days and the time leading up to it. He's like, I'm only saying this because Favreau sanctioned this interview. And it still feels weird to me to say it instead of saying Plo Koon. And by the way, that was the other thing. That's awesome that they used Plo Koon. And how awesome could it have been if they did bring Plo Koon back? Just thinking about what would that actually be if it wasn't Luke and it was Plo Koon.
Well, I know that's Filoni's favorite Jedi, so that would have been cool. And I think that was a code word they were using for it. And they had artwork and they had set work done up around Plo Koon to throw everybody off base. But personally, would I love to see more Plo Koon? I would, because I really like that character. But I think somebody in the show, Alfie, I think, is the one who said it. I'm not sure there was another person you could hand that baby off to and feel like you could go, okay, I can take a breather until next season because Grogu is in Luke's hands, right? I mean, no slap against Plo Koon. He's an awesome dude. But I think everybody felt like that's the direction you had to go. So, but anyway, go ahead. Did you have more? Alfie, go ahead.
Yeah, the secrecy thing watching this is what really one of the things that blew me away by it, because I am a spoiler person. I do seek it out. The Force Awakens, I knew the entire movie a week before it came out. Every scene.
Really?
Even the deleted scenes. The scenes that weren't in the movie that showed up on the Blu-ray and stuff, yeah, those were all out. The alternate opening was out. So for this to have remained such a secret just blows my mind.
Alfie, where is the mystery, man? Like,
Right.
Does that not kill you?
No. Reading something and seeing it visually are two different things.
No.
Okay.
And then you also, is it 100% right?
I see.
But somehow this guy was 100, you can't be more than 100% right. And he was right about absolutely everything.
Wow.
Did you snoop your Christmas presents too?
Yeah.
No.
You like being surprised by that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's like getting a book. I always read the last page. Like Billy Crystal said, what if you get hit by a bus? I want to know how
When
it is.
Harry Met Sally. There we go.
That's good.
We have a
good.
When Harry Met Sally reference right there. Billy Crystal reading the last page of the book. So you sound like Mark Thompson there, the narrator for the Star Wars books, when he said he had to do The Force Awakens before it came out at the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And he questioned whether or not he should do it. But then he said he really got to enjoy watching other people watch it, knowing what was coming. So
that's cool.
do you get any of that feeling, Alfie, since you knew everything going in?
Yeah. I mean, you go back to the Phantom Menace, the days of dial-up. That entire movie was on the internet weeks before it came out.
Wow.
Don't share any of that stuff with me. I don't. I like snippets, but I don't want that. Okay.
I mean, even the little stuff I do share, I always say take with a grain of salt because you never know if it's true or not.
Okay.
And like I said, reading it is one thing. Actually seeing it, you look at like Lord of the Rings, reading, the Battle of Minas Tirith and the Rohan army showing up. That's nothing like seeing that on the big screen.
Okay. Nick or Mass, any thoughts, just opening thoughts talking about this episode we watched today?
You know what? I actually did not get to watch it today. I've been grinding since we started. So I know. It started early, ended late. So I'm very much looking forward to jumping in and watching it though. Maybe I'll stay up late and watch it.
You should.
Pay for
you
it tomorrow.
Definitely should. Yes. Mass, how about you?
I actually have it on the screen right now, waiting to hit play as soon as we're done with this. Because I haven't seen. Are you
kidding me? I didn't know.
So if you guys could hurry up and.
Okay. So some. I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't want to steal away any of the good stuff. But
they deserve to get it stolen away.
I can log off.
No. So there's no secrets. I mean, look, you saw the show. The thing that gets you is the secrecy, like Alfie said. I mean, Filoni and Favreau asked Mark Hamill to come look when they did season 1 and when they did the opening episode where Grogu reaches out and touches the Mandalorian's hand. They asked him, "What do you think about this? Do you think this works?" He said, "I knew something was going on right then and there. That they wouldn't just ask me to get my opinion on this stuff, right?" And they knew then that they were going to wrap him in to season 2 on this scene in this episode. So the secrecy, they had another person who played the role, so the two of them interacted and they'd filmed both of them. I think what you guys are going to be blown away, and the thing I want to go back and watch again is just the stuff where they talked about changing the face. I mean, the amount of work they did to do that was amazing. And then to go along with that, one thing that really hit me, that I guess it didn't hit me as much then, but Brent always says we paid too much attention to the music. But the only time in both Mandalorian season 1 and 2 that they used John Williams music is when Luke showed up. And Favreau, if you guys want to know how deep this guy is into it, he started tearing up when R2 came on stage. And he started tearing up talking about R2 being on stage. So if that doesn't just get you right, as Alfie says, in the feels, right?
Right in the feels.
It gets you in the feels. I mean, Filoni's comment really stuck with me is the group of us that grew up with R2 being that character that everybody loved R2. There wasn't anybody who didn't love R2. He was the little one that added a little fun. He was there for good, side eye things or whatever. It saved the day. To have him meet up with Grogu, while there's a whole generation of people now that Grogu is their R2-D2.
That's cool.
I mean, these guys were way into it, and so when you watch it here later tonight, I do suggest you stay up and watch it because it was that good and it was that entertaining and that informative. Dave, Alfie, Brent, I've monopolized this. I want you guys to hit on stuff since you already seen it. Alfie, go ahead.
The thing that really got me worked up in watching this, and we're touching on it quite a bit here, but how much Luke Skywalker meant to all the people working on this. And me as a lifelong Star Wars fan that has devoured everything that's been put out, comic books, novels, movies, series, cartoons, what have you. It doesn't matter how far in the Old Republic you go, or the High Republic, sequels, prequels, whatever. Star Wars, for so many people, is always going to come back to Luke Skywalker. And all of that content, I mean, it's hard to compare to that little 2-minute scene, in The Mandalorian. It's not even Luke Skywalker's show. It has something that is so far away from the original trilogy and his character. But when he shows up, I mean, it's hard not to get emotional talking about it, or, and watching it, forget about it. I had to watch that scene 3 times right after I watched that show. I mean, just like Filoni was saying, seeing Favreau see R2-D2 for a second, he could see 7-10-year-old John Favreau right there.
That's cool.
And that's all, that's so many of us when you see that green lightsaber. And, Filoni was saying, how they did the scene of the buildup of, it can't be him. It can't be him. Okay, it might be. It might be. It might be. And then the door opens and it is him. It's just, it's amazing that all of this went into this little,
2
total
minutes.
10-minute, sequence.
Yeah.
And it just means so much to so many people.
Yep.
Because that's the Luke that we wanted to see, just for a little bit.
Dave or Brent? Go ahead, Dave.
My audio is good, right?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I just remember, I mean, it just brought me back to the night of watching that finale and just being blown away by it. And hey, I have no problem admitting that I cried like a baby when Luke showed up. Right when I saw the X-Wing pulling in, I'm just like, it's got to be him, And yeah, it's just everything that you see in this just solidifies the fact that these guys know Star Wars, they care about it, they love it, and they're going to take good care. Also, a thing that was interesting to me was Kathleen Kennedy kind of made me feel. Am I good?
You're back now. You hit like a break for a second. You're good. Kathleen Kennedy, go ahead.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy, they kind of hyped her up a bit, and they were saying, she's given them, the green light to do as much as they can with this. I mean, you see the technology they're using. I mean, think about the cost of what they're putting into the show. That thing they had called the egg that looked like Darth Vader's meditation chamber. Like, the stuff they were doing was freaking me out a little bit, honestly. I'm just like, what is going on here? Like, the amount of stuff they do with their faces. And the voice too, the fact that the voice was, it's crazy.
Yep. Agreed. Brent, go ahead.
So a couple things. One, I will be forthright and say that I did not get emotional watching The Mandalorian, but what did get me emotional, I've watched this now twice. So I've watched it for both Shesky and Mass. But I got emotional when they started talking about seeing the daily scenes, and there were 7 people in the room, and he looked around and 6 of the 7 people had tears in their eyes. This was when they were shooting the dailies as they were filming. So that made me think of like, wow, how much orchestration, how much thought went into that, and like the enormity of that, because they also filmed it, and I know they filmed it while the rest of the production was on location. So they made sure that the fewest number of people could have been on set to watch this. So they planned this shoot when the bulk of everybody else was out shooting the Tython scene where they're going to take Grogu off of the rock on Tython.
The Rodriguez episode, right?
The Robert,
wow.
yeah. So while they were filming that, they had a small rebel force penetrated our shield on Endor. They had that small rebel force filming this Luke scene because they knew they could probably keep it quiet that way. The second thing is, you talked about the technology and the cost. They sat a guy in a room because there's 3 different types of technology, and they didn't know which one would work. They paid one guy probably a large sum of money and gave him every computer program in the world and they just shut and locked the door, and he worked on it for probably 3 to 4 months straight, and they didn't even use his work because it didn't match up as well. But just the amount of R&D, but what he was doing, they were doing it because they know they're going to eventually use it when it gets good enough. He was building and crafting that program to do the deep fake technology to where they could make you and I and put us in there if you have enough pictures. So they were building that software and working on that software, and they didn't even use his technology, but they knew that they gave the money at it because they knew they were building up to that. And the third thing that, like, with the technology that just blows me away is the use of the volume and just what it can do. Because at one point, and it was just kind of a throwaway cutaway scene,
Yes.
they showed a blue box with wheels, and then they just showed how they digitally mapped into it the juggernaut and then the tunnel underneath where Mando was getting into it. I think it's in episode 6 or 7 of season 2, and it was all in the volume, but with just a box and maybe the cab of the juggernaut. Just what they can make and what they can make it look like in a small location is going to fundamentally change the way all major motion pictures and small screen stuff is done. And it'll just completely expand where everything is going, which is another small thing that Star Wars does, which is another reason why I love the Star Wars universe, is because of all the technology that it puts into it and utilizes and how it kind of pushes the envelope. You can say what you want about our friend Jar Jar Binks, but in 1996, he was the first full motion picture captured, fully animated CGI character in a major motion picture. And now that stuff that's gone to like dinosaurs, and now, I mean, but Jar Jar Binks was the first to really start using that technology.
There would be no Smeagol Gollum character in Lord of the Rings if it wasn't for Jar Jar, right? I mean, and all the things that the Marvel Universe is doing right now, the prequel trilogy is what led to where we get to today in these things. And I saw somebody, Duchess, Dark Saberlight on Twitter, somebody said something about how, well, Luke's face didn't really look perfect or whatever. And, she kind of let him know, hey, you have to push the envelope, and Star Wars has always pushed the envelope. And if it isn't for Star Wars pushing the envelope, we wouldn't, we would have had 1 or 2 movies back in 77 and 80, and that'd have been it. But they pushed the envelope, and then George continued to push the envelope, and that's why we are where we are today with movies and TV and technology we have. So I agree with her. Was Luke's face 100% perfect? No, but daggone it, man. 95% better than, not being 95%. So go ahead. Alfie, did you have your hand up?
Yeah. And on your point, at some point, we're just going to have to be okay with that. If we want these characters to continue, you're just going to have to deal with it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Did it look 100%? Yeah, it was off, but, for a first attempt, it was pretty good. Was Tarkin and Leia perfect? No, but would you just rather not have them in the story at all anymore? Or can you deal with that uncanny valley a little bit just so you can see those characters? But watching this and seeing all of the technology and listening to them talk about it, it really took me back to some of the behind the scenes documentaries of like A New Hope, where, these guys at ILM, these who had never done anything like this before, sat there and watched the opening of the Star Destroyer and the Tantive 4, and we're asking each other, who did this?
That's cool.
They were so blown away by what they could do, and they had no idea really how they did it,
Right.
And then listening to these guys who have unlimited resources, and they're still the same way. They're still these passionate people that are blown away. Like somebody said, they were talking about watching the simplified dailies, just like, can you even believe we are filming Luke Skywalker right now? And could you imagine what it would be to look at the finished product the first time, in that room and saying, with the dark troopers and the lightsaber and the sounds and the music, I couldn't even imagine what, the emotions you would feel seeing something like that.
Yep.
But even with all that technology, it's still the same Star Wars.
Go ahead, Brent.
I was just going to try to be kind of funny, but did you see the developers and their Black Series collection?
What?
I saw it.
There is a scene where they're showing the animators, and one animator is looking at a computer screen, and they're doing some work on, I don't know what, maybe the Razor Crest or something, but they're doing some work, and over the shoulder, and then back in the background, there's a shelf that has about 12, it looks like 12 Black Series figures just on it, like in the background.
Hey, Nick, you got to hop here. Any more you want to hit on? You're going to go watch the show. I appreciate you being able to show up tonight. Anything you want to hit on before you got to head out?
No, you know what, guys? It was so good to be back on and see y'all. Seriously, I was bummed to not get a chance to watch the Mandalorian gallery, but you better believe I'll be watching it and texting you all the things that I see and go from there. And y'all be like, yeah, I saw it already. Thanks for not watching what we did. Losers.
You're
So,
good. You're
no,
good, man.
cool.
Go
All right,
take
see
care
you
of
guys.
yourself, man. Thanks for being here. All right.
See ya.
All right. Dave, any more thoughts you want to hit on the Mandalorian finale gallery that we watched today before we break away or let everybody hit their final topics here?
I really liked Peyton Reed. I mean,
Yes.
I'm not familiar with him, honestly. Like, maybe I should be. He's probably done stuff that I've watched that I don't even know that he has. But I really like him, honestly. I'm like, give this guy some more, get him behind the wheel of some more Star Wars stuff,
Did he do Ant-Man, I think?
Yeah.
And I can't remember what else, but I knew it was Ant-Man and then obviously some Mandalorian episodes. But you're right. He seemed passionate about it. He seemed into it. Yeah, good call on that. I like that.
Could you imagine being him? And he kind of talks about it a little bit, but getting that script, like, of all the episodes, you're like, you gave me the Luke Skywalker episode.
No, he got the Plo Koon episode. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, he got the Plo Koon episode, and then it was awesome because he's like, yeah, I've been friends with Favreau for a long time. So when he pulled me over there, I was like, are you serious? Like, because I can see Favreau doing that too, just messing with him and like, no, it's gonna be Luke. Nah, it's Plo. No, it's gonna be Luke. No, I know you. It's gonna be Plo. No, like I could just kind of picture that back and forth. And then when he finally realizes that Favreau wasn't really jerking his chain, I got that one right. See, that one's better.
Yep.
So
I can live with that one. You got it. Well, yeah, no, good call on Peyton Reed there. I agree. I think add him into the mix of all the things that's going on with everybody in whether it's Mandalorian or other Disney Plus shows or movies. I mean, let's face it. If he can pull off a Marvel movie, he can pull off a Star Wars movie. I'll go around the room. We'll do some closing thoughts. We'll go alphabetical because it makes it easy on me so I don't forget anybody or anything. Alfie, closing thoughts on anything and everything we talked about tonight or any other topic you want to hit before we close shop.
I just really enjoyed this little view into behind the scenes. I always like seeing that. I love seeing the technology, the transition from the rough to the finished product. And if there's going to be 4 next season, I'm pretty excited to see what they're going to be. Maybe we'll get a Kenobi or an Andor, Book of Boba Fett, episode.
Star Wars fans will consume it all, won't we?
Yes. And seeing this and that last episode of The Mandalorian really makes me feel confident that, because we're setting up, 3 series here with some really beloved characters. And it gives me confidence that they'll be done right and with a lot of respect for the characters themselves and for the fans.
You got it. Brent, how about you? Closing thoughts, anything going on you want to hit before we go?
The only addition I will make to that is not only do I feel like they're in good hands, but I think that they've earned the confidence of the studios with the way that they talked about Kathleen Kennedy you hear about all the rumors. If you sit and listen to the rumor bills and you go and find it that say that there's animosity and that there's negativity. And I think that happens anytime when money comes involved and people have to make decisions and have bosses that they need to answer to. But it seems like even though there's a productive struggle and there is a respect between the two of them, or at least that's what they're projecting in this example, that not only do they is it in good hands with them, but I believe that they have the respect and the clout to be able to continue to go the direction they want to go with it with the studio.
Agreed. I like that. Dave, again, thanks so much for being with us and being a big part of it. And when you finish up Bad Batch, we'll grab you. We'll talk some more, and we'll definitely have you back here more in the next few episodes. So any closing thoughts you have on tonight or that episode or anything you're into in Star Wars right now, besides your helmet, which of course we're all ecstatic for you. You got your helmet.
All right. I got 3 things, 2 small, 1 bigger.
Okay.
Number 1, we're packing up my house and I have my green Luke Skywalker Force FX lightsaber, and I keep it next to my bed the way that someone would keep a baseball bat next to their bed. And I wanted at one point this episode to have it out, and I think my wife packed it away somewhere, so I have no clue where my lightsaber is.
Oh.
So my house is vulnerable right now.
So
you're naked right now, basically.
Yes.
Naked right now.
Yeah, I can't defend myself if a robber comes in here. I don't have my lightsaber. Number 2, my little guy was at my parents' house yesterday while we were at work because they're in that weird time between camp and school. And you can't see it on the podcast, obviously, but he found my old X-Wing from when I was a kid. And I actually he's 4 years old. I haven't fully introduced him to Star Wars yet. I'm kind of holding off a little bit. Like I'm kind of waiting for that right point with him where I know that he's going to be into it. And to see him playing with this, and it still works. I mean, of course, it's missing the parts. It's missing it's missing the cockpit and everything. But yeah, it was just really cool to see him just intrigued by it. He said, "What is this?" I'm like, "It's an X-Wing."
See, right there. He's started down the dark path right there. So that's good.
Exactly.
It's always good. A father to a child to be able to hand that off to him and talk to him about it. So that's awesome.
And then just like another lighter point I wanted to get to was before watching this new gallery, I actually watched the season 2 gallery again. And I gotta say, I'm still upset that Gina Carano is out of The Mandalorian, because when you watch her do her interviews in gallery and you hear how much her castmates loved her and just how she interacted with the directors and everything, I'm just like, she's like, seems like such a sweet person and she loved the show. And it's just sad that she's out of it. It kind of reignited that feeling of like, man, I can't believe she's gone from it. It's crazy.
Yeah. We joke around a lot on our show here, and we try to keep it to where it's not hurtful, vengeful, anything, even when we tease about a certain movie or character or whatever. So we try to keep real world and politics and all that kind of stuff out of it. But
exactly,
I will say this: I miss that she's not going to be in it as well. She was a character that I really enjoyed. I think most of us did. There are so many people that have different political views that are either in TV, movies, or music, or some form of entertainment, that I don't know why it has to be something to where people outside push things, their agendas or whatever, whether it's the fans, whether it's the studios, whatever. She was a loved character, and she did her job right, and she got along with the people on the screen, So I agree. For me, there's people that probably could care less, but I agree. I hate that she's gone, because I thought that was going to be a good character that was going to lead into some other things. But yeah, let's hope she does well in her future ventures, because she was a cool character to have. So, but yeah, it is a bummer.
And thanks for having me on again. I absolutely love doing this with you guys. So it's
hey,
great.
You kidding me? You fit right in with this group, man. We're going to have you back more and more because you do a great job and you, like I said, you just fit right in. Alfie, go right ahead. You had something to follow up on that.
Yeah, before D-Doc goes, I just had a quick question for him. You getting the Mando helmet, will you be getting another Black Series helmet?
The Boba Fett one?
Any of them. I'm just curious if there was one that you had in line or hoping for.
I have the Captain Cardinal. Now I'm gonna have Mando, and now I'm just not gonna be able to stop. Is what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I have 4 of them already, and a 5th on the way. So I feel you.
Yeah, that Boba Fett, the new Boba Fett one looks incredible. I don't know how I'm gonna hold back from getting that, honestly.
I mean, Alfie's already got it coming. It's coming in what, January 1st, 2022?
Yeah.
So far, if it's not delayed.
I just did that for Mass, and I heard the giggle in the background, so it landed.
If nothing else, it'll at least be here before the next Star Wars movie. So we're good on that. Mass, how about you? I know you were taking care of some things with your dad, had to show up late to the show, and that's okay because we love having you here. Is there anything you want to hit on, whether it's Bad Batch, whether it's Mando, whether it's just things in Star Wars universe before we break? I know, so you guys will know Mass and I will be getting together this weekend because it will be our 26th anniversary. It'll be a 26th year of doing our fantasy football league draft together. So we'll have a bunch of drunk idiots yelling at each other for about 6 hours and then staying at his lake house. So it could get crazy, but that's we'll save those for a different podcast. Mass, anything you want to hit on before we break?
Yeah, I did miss the beginning of the show. So who did somebody not know what Flick My Bick was? Is that
Yes, some of the younger people weren't sure. And
okay.
To go along with that, my enunciation, it was not the best.
Oh, it didn't sound like a B? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I had to say it's B as in boy, Flick My Bick as in boy. You know, the listeners on our show are going to be going and looking on Google. What the hell is Flick My Bick? I apologize for that. Now that it's in the realm of things, I can't get it out of my head. So
okay.
Anyway, yes, that was one of our topics of discussion, Mass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I worked as an apprentice with a bunch of guys who were in their 40s and 50s, so I've heard a lot of sayings. So when I was a plumbing apprentice, I've heard it all. I knew exactly what you meant when you said it, honestly.
There we go. See?
I mean, I knew what it meant. I just had never heard it before.
Oh, man. Well, I'm an odd bird, man. I do things a different way.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we had a full house time. We had 6 people on the show. It went well. Everything was covered. It's been a long night. Thank you so much. For all you listening, we'll have this out tomorrow, Thursday. Yeah, Thursday the 26th. Follow us at Rule the Galaxy SW on Twitter. Email us rulethegalaxysw@gmail.com. Facebook, YouTube, Rule the Galaxy. And that's about it. Episode 97 in the books. We're still planning our live 100th episode coming up soon. We'll have more details for you once Joey and I sit down and put together the technical side. All you guys, love you guys all. You're great. You're awesome. Thanks for being a part of it. And until next week, may the force be with you.